Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. With me is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
I need those keys, Rose. Rose, where are those keys?
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
Because I'm T.S. motherfucking A.
And Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
They call me the mayor, 'cause I spend all my days here. And you would too, if what you knew what I knew. Pina Colada Berg. Got a tropical treat. Sucked straight from the coconut's teat. When mixed just right, it makes your short hairs grow. Pina Colada Berg.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warm. Warmer. Disco.
The Disco Dork. Remember what I said about people seeing a bright light before they die? It ain't true. I can't see a damn thing. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast.
I can really carry a tune.
I thought that was good.
Oh, you were singing?
So has Brian done a singing quote yet?
No.
So you're going to be the last one. We've all done singing quotes.
Well, I think I did one for Straight Outta Compton. There wasn't necessarily singing, but it was a rhyme, a rap.
Okay. Well, I think we're ready to cut a record. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, let's do it.
Pina Colada Bird.
All right. So before we jump into our Weekend Dork, as most of you should know by now, this morning of our recording, the 26th, or was it yesterday?
This morning.
This morning, we lost Bill Paxton, unfortunately. As the reports are saying, it was due to some complications after a surgical procedure. And so...
61 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he, in addition to his family and friends and his loved ones, he also left behind a really outstanding film career, filmography. Just a ton of roles. One of the greatest character actors of our time. Absolutely. I don't know. I was talking to a friend recently, and we were thinking back on 2016 and how many people we lost. And I was saying that, unfortunately, because of the people that we grew up with, watching in films and our entertainers and things like that, as a child, them already being adults, and now us being adults, a lot of them are going to be up there in age right now. So it's going to come, there's going to be a point where we're just going to start losing them like back to back to back. And it's one of those things that you can't prepare for that. And it's just sad. But, one of the ways that I choose to handle it is also just not just mourning the loss, but more importantly, celebrating the life of that person. And Bill Paxton, again, left behind a really large filmography for us to celebrate, his talents and his personality. Brad, I saw you posted that those pictures from Comic-Con.
2013.
He was there. That was awesome. He was very awesome and gracious.
That was the Edge of Tomorrow panel where, and this must have been staged, but for some reason, Bill Paxton was sitting in the audience, and Tom Cruise, made reference to his character Hudson, and he said, "You know what? No, I think Bill's out there in the crowd." And then Tom Cruise ordered Chris Hardwick to go pull Bill Paxton from the sea of people and onto the stage, and it was this really awkward climb/leap behind that table. Yeah. And then by the time once Paxton sat down, Cruise just kept pestering him for, I don't know, about probably only like 30 seconds to just go, "Game over, man." Yeah. And finally Paxton did it. He just screamed it out to the crowd, and, we all went nuts.
Yeah, Hall H lost it.
And we saw him again last year for the Aliens 30th anniversary panel. That's right. Also in Hall H. Shit. And, it's interesting. Somebody online this afternoon tweeted out that Bill Paxton is the only actor to be honored a death by a Terminator, an Alien, and a Predator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we had just talked about him in Predator 2 during our Itmod Film Club episode. Mm-hmm. And really, that role is such an obnoxious role. And so is Hudson and Aliens. There's something very abrasive about their characters. Yeah. But the way Paxton tackles that yellow streak, in Hudson's case, certainly, is really charming. And in the case of Jerry Lambert, I believe his name is in Predator 2, that little boy, that man as man-child, is still somehow endearing when I think a lot of other actors would make that character really, really cloying.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. I didn't even know until I actually went on Facebook and saw you guys post, and I'm literally was in shock. Couldn't believe it. And then read the story on Variety, 61 complications from surgery. But just to talk about Bill Paxton, like you say, I mean, he's a great character actor, and he's the type of actor that you can really just kind of plant him in all these different roles, and he's great, like if he has like a bit part or the cameo, or he can lead a film, like we saw in the movies like Twister, or just seeing him pop up. I mean, you knew that like if he was attached to a certain film, you knew that that film was in good hands. Like it would give us a sense that, okay, this is a sense of credibility to the role. Like, oh, Bill Paxton's there. Like even before, like with Edge of Tomorrow, because I know he did a lot of his scenes like after they kind of shot, and then when they announced that he was in there, like, oh, okay, Bill Paxton's in this movie. So he's just one of those type of actors that you really can kind of use in many different type of ways, whether it's in small bit roles or even as a leading in leading roles as well. He was so versatile, just such a versatile actor in that way.
And a pretty good director, too. Big fan of Frailty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Frailty. And he did some TV work with that show on HBO called Big Love. So, yeah, he's done great work all around in many different genres. So, just extremely versatile.
And he was currently working on the Training Day TV show, which I had not caught an episode yet of.
Has it premiered? I don't know if that's...
I don't know. I don't know what goes on in TV, Brian.
Yeah, no.
All right. Well, we lost another great one.
And thanks, Darren, for reminding us that we're all getting older, and we're going to lose a lot more great ones.
But
but 61, that's just too soon.
Yeah.
We're recording this morning on the day of the Academy Awards, the 89th Academy Awards.
Yep.
And we're going to head out after this episode and drive out to the Sears' house and partake in their annual party. When it comes up to the in memoriam...
in memoriam, yeah.
I like saying memoriam. Memoriam.
Sorry, I didn't mean to correct you again.
I like my word better.
Okay.
It's going to be a really brutal... I was going to say 2 minutes, but it's probably going to be like 16 minutes of deaths.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Memoriam.
You say potato, I say memoriam.
I say, Brian, you start us off with your Weekend Dork.
All right, so my Weekend Dork, I figure all of us, well, we've seen this film. We can all kind of chime in on this one, but I kind of just want to start it off with the new release that came out this week, which is Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele. A pretty simple premise. Pretty much a black dude who is dating a white woman, and he goes to visit her parents for the weekend, and a lot of weird shit starts to happen. So that's pretty much the overall premise of it. Now, I don't know if we want to get too much into spoilers.
Yes.
Okay, so...
Really? We're going to spoil Get Out?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Warning, people.
Yeah, so maybe we could put in like a little jingle or something for the,
I'm not
for
doing
the,
no
for the
jingle.
listeners, like the spoiler or spoiler.
Skip ahead. Just
No,
hit
you
that
haven't seen-
15
if
second
you haven't
forward
seen-
button
yeah.
about 20 times.
If you haven't seen Get Out, skip ahead. This is Brian's Weekend Dork. So generally it's about 15, 20 minutes per dork for the Weekend Dork. So skip ahead about 20 minutes so we don't spoil this for you. But
So
go see it.
Yeah, definitely go see this movie. I'll just talk in general about it, and the spoilers come up. And if you guys have spoilers you guys want to talk about, but I just first want to say for Jordan Peele, this being the directorial debut, I feel like he did just an absolutely fantastic job with this film. The thing that I really took away from this film mostly was just how he's able to really start a conversation with the social commentary, and he's able to kind of wrap that in the genre of horror. I mean, just everything that he deals with the idea of race relations, and the performances from all these different actors, from the parents of Catherine Keener and Bradley Whitford, who I thought were absolutely fantastic, and of course Daniel Kaluuya, who I'm becoming a huge fan of, and Allison Williams. I thought they did some fantastic work in this film, especially for Daniel Kaluuya, because we really have to follow his character throughout this whole film. But the subtext that Jordan Peele is able to really show in this film I thought was absolutely brilliant. Well, I guess first spoiler, I guess the whole idea with his mother, Daniel Kaluuya's mother, how they're able to really like plant certain things, and it's able to like brilliantly pay off towards the end of the film when they first hit the deer, and that whole sequence with the deer, and how that kind of starts.
It was interesting because I had just listened to our Karin Kusama interview that we did a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking a lot about The Invitation as Get Out was starting.
Oh, okay.
And The Invitation starts off with this couple hitting a coyote, and in that film, it's really there as a way to ignite the tension of the story, the way that anything can come out from the fringes to disrupt your day.
Yeah.
But and I took that deer hit and run in the same fashion at the start of Get Out, but really it's something much, much deeper.
Yeah.
Do you think that the deer was planted? Because then a deer shows up again at the end of the film in the when he is in the sofa, on the sofa, armchair thingy. So do you think that somehow they orchestrated throwing a deer?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because by the time you see what exactly is going on in the basement with the black mold, I don't think it's as elaborate as possibly orchestrating,
I guess you're right.
chucking deers in front of cars.
But once you see the climax of the film, you believe that anything is possible. Anything can be orchestrated.
Yeah. That and then again, talking about the subtext of the film, like it's this whole idea too of like passive aggressive racism. So when we get to the parents' house and they're having the whole conversation about, oh yeah, we hit a deer when we got there, and Bradley Whitford's talking about, yeah, like one less deer on the road, like they've been like infesting this area, and it's just that whole idea, like you start to kind of see like the subtext of all the conversations and everything that Jordan Peele is kind of just putting into this film. And then that whole idea, like when he's talking to to Chris, about, I would have voted for Obama for a third term and things of that nature. Like it's really setting this tone for the film. I thought it was just brilliantly done.
And the way that Daniel Kaluuya performs that awkwardness of social interaction with, not saying what he must obviously be thinking, and just going like, no, it's okay, it's fine.
But you get the impression that, he deals with this all of the time, and so the girlfriend can seem shocked and appalled, but he shrugs his shoulders like, this is the way that it is.
Yeah.
I listened to a really interesting interview with Jordan Peele on The Nerdist. Like, Chris Hardwick needs more plugs. But it's a great interview, and he talks about how through his character, through the main character, everybody can see like a sliver of what it's like to be a black person. In that, he made this film with the intention of everybody watching it and kind of getting that perspective on the paranoia that must exist of, is this happening because of racism, or am I being... So it's like the whole tone of the film is very off-putting, and I think that was intentional to bring forth that idea, to make that idea identifiable for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that, because just the whole scenario of the idea, I mean, for me, watching this film was just so eerie and so creepy, because I've been familiar with those type of situations, being in a place when you're like the only black person surrounded by everybody else who's white, and it's this feeling of like, how am I being perceived? And there is a feeling of paranoia, and I thought Jordan Peele was able to really capture that even before like all the horrific stuff really happens in the third act. He's really able to really capture that in this film perfectly, I thought.
And it's a shame, because a lot of the stuff that Jordan Peele is trying to talk about or spark a conversation about is... So I've been reading, not reviews, but I've been reading responses to the film and comments on the film online. And for people who haven't even seen it yet, people are saying that the film is racist. And
that's just clickbait in that sense.
No. Well, I mean people who are commenting on articles like like there's David Johnson. He posted a thing about it, and there was someone who had mentioned that, wow, this movie just looks racist, the trailers or whatever, and they're missing the point. It's not anti-white. It's not blacks against white. It's not white people are bad. It's an observation from a black perspective about, like what you just mentioned, Lisa, about giving the audience a sliver of like what it is like. And it's ugly. It may be off-putting. If the shoe fits, then wear it. But for you to feel uncomfortable watching that, like, imagine what it's like to be that, to have to live that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even compare. And people writing off the film without giving it a chance, or without seeing those trailer images in context, are really doing a disservice to the conversation that the film is trying to make.
Anybody who thinks this movie is anti-white is either stupid or racist.
Yeah. And so, and one of the things that I saw someone say that the ending, I liked the movie until the end, it just didn't make sense. One of the things that Jordan Peele is also commenting on regarding the black experience is that a part of the black culture and the black community, when we see, when it's, for instance, when early on when rap was a big thing, when gangster rap came out and rap was really popular, and how you had a large part of the population shun that or say that it was bad or negative, but then you see it appropriated into jingles, and now it's in your commercials, and now the white people are singing detergent ads using rap or old beats from Dougie Fresh back in the day. Part of what Get Out talks about it, especially in the third act, is the procedure that, this is spoiler, so just Brian, do your spoiler jingle, whatever. All right, so part of what happens at the end, part of the nefarious plot of the Armitage is they basically bid on a black person. The winning bidder takes that black person's body and puts their mind, their consciousness. The winning white person takes the mind and their consciousness and puts it in the body of this black person. So if you're strong, if you're of good build, genetic makeup, then they appropriate your body, they appropriate you, your blackness, and they use that. And what my takeaway from that aspect of the plot is what I just mentioned about a large part of the black community feeling like we are appropriated for our talents and what we're good at and what we're things that we use to identify ourselves within our abilities or whatever, or just our personalities or who we are as people, but then them being used for other reasons, but we can't be recognized as people and individuals, but our talents and what we can do are used for others' gain.
And I really enjoy how that concept is born out of the fact that his father or the grandfather lost to Jesse Owens at one of the most symbolic sporting events of all time.
And it wasn't until like the day after, or maybe like after we left, that I put that whole the groundskeeper guy running. That was his grandpa. Like I put that together like way after.
Yeah, a
the
lot
fact.
of people didn't really realize that with the whole idea of this brain transplant, and then like the sliver of the original host or the black person's consciousness is still in there. And I went and saw the movie a second time, and it hits you in such a different way. Like that one scene with Georgina when she's talking to Chris about the phone being unplugged, and he's like, I get nervous when when there's white people around, and then like. You can see like her consciousness trying to come through the grandmother.
Right.
And I just thought that was just so creepy.
And so sad.
So sad.
A prisoner aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way that actress played that, I thought was absolutely brilliant. I mean, the performances are top notch in this. And just the whole idea, just the way he builds like that whole idea of the sunken place and the hypnosis.
That scene right there, you talking about performances, that scene with Chris and the mom, when she catches him and she makes him come in that office after catching him outside.
Like, he doesn't want to say it, but he's confessing all this stuff, but it's like...
That scene is one of the best directed, best acted scenes I've seen in a movie in a long time.
And that's the thing. Jordan Peele is the real deal. Yeah. I mean, his shot composition, the way that scene is edited, the way that scene is scored. I mean, Get Out is the whole thing. It's
even the concept of, so what are you going to do? Dangle a watch in front of my face? But her using the stirring as to subliminally get him without him knowing. And again, his performance of trying to be resistant, but not even realizing he's letting go and being taken by her, and the emotion in his eyes, like his eyes in that scene killed me. Like they killed me. He was so good. That scene was amazing.
Yeah, especially the fact you see him having to relive that moment that he doesn't want to remember, that he's trying to suppress and forget, and just her bringing that back up. I thought it was just absolutely brilliant. And I guess since this is spoilers, we can kind of say what the girlfriend, her
deal.
Yeah, her deal is, with the fact that she's really kind of luring him, and she's a part of the whole thing that's going on with the family as well. And that I didn't really see that coming. Some people may have saw that coming, I guess, towards the third act when you see the door open and you see that box. When I saw the pictures, I
knew it happened the moment they had the bingo auction block, because she's like, "We got to go for a walk," and I said, "Oh shit, lure."
Yeah. Because they do such a good job of really having you buy into their relationship. Because I really bought into their relationship. I thought that it was real. I thought they really... But then, looking back, especially the second time I watched it, I started watching her and to see, like, if there's little hints. And she even said in a couple of interviews, like, the way Jordan Peele would direct some of the actors is like they would put hints that he would require people to go back and have to watch this film a second time, because they do put little hints in there to show you that she is a part of the whole thing as well, which I thought was brilliant.
On the second watch, when you see Allison Williams respond to quote unquote Chris's paranoia, she is sometimes surprised in from the villain's perspective. You can see how she has to improvise her surprise reactions by what he is uncovering, and how she then has to recover or sweep it back under the carpet.
Yeah, and what you were talking about, the whole appropriation of like just the black culture. I mean, you really see that in that whole like event party sequence with like just the creepiness of like a lot of those people in attendance.
Is such a horrifying and upsetting sequence.
Yeah, just the whole idea. I mean, with the one guy talking about, you know, like he golfs and I know Tiger, and the woman who's like touching him and like, you know, and asking all these.
And it's the way the geriatric,
the old
man in that chair salivates at the idea that this man might have a large penis.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, just that whole thing is just so eerie and so creepy. But like the whole thing, another thing I really like is just the metaphors that Jordan Peele subliminally puts into the film. I mean, we would see it with the opening shot when you see Get Out, with the whole thing with hypnosis, the idea of seeing like a repetitive motion when you see like just like the trees like moving back and forth. So that's like one little metaphor that he's putting in there. Even with the opening song by I think it's called Redbone by Childish Gambino, just that the idea of like he's a photographer that takes black and white photos. At that event, it's like everybody is wearing black and white. Even like after the reveal, when she's like looking up like NCAA prospects, you know, she's drinking white milk from a black straw. So I like all these little visual metaphors that he's planting in the film to kind of just, you know, reiterate the point of what this movie is about. I thought it was just, again, the directorial debut, I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
In his interview, Jordan Peele accredited a lot of his insight into the film and the way he made such a strong directorial debut was two things, like being a fan of film and just having taste. Like, you could tell that Jordan Peele is a man of exquisite taste. He's, you know, clearly well-versed in film. But also, like, for me, like, going back to Key and Peele sketches, I was never a fan of Key and Peele sketches because of how they get, for me personally, right to the heart of emotion. Yeah. He has an insight into human behavior and can get right to the heart of an issue, like just completely. Brad wants to reference. What was that sketch?
The Hype Man.
The Hype Man sketch, the one where he shoots, where the Hype Man gets shot. I saw that. Brad was laughing his head off, and I burst into tears. I was just like, he just wanted to be his friend.
Yeah.
He was doing the best that he could. Like, I think that it goes back to that theme where I think that if you can make people laugh, if you have the key to unlock that, because laughter is an unconscious response.
Exactly.
Laughter is something that you do in spite of yourself, and fear and tension and suspense is also like this involuntary reaction that he just can evoke. Like when you're watching this film, like the emotion just washes over you, and it's overwhelming, and it's awesome.
That's why I think it's just a natural progression from him coming from comedy and be able to go to horror, because those are two feelings that you say that we evoke that we really have no really control over, is our fear and our laughter. So I think him being able to do that and coming from sketch comedy, I think this is just a natural progression. And him being a horror fan also, I think that works for him to kind of step into this genre.
And I love that this is not a comedy film. Funny things happen, and you know, you might find yourself chuckling. I love the friend Rodney. I love him.
Yes.
I think that he was a great character, but this is not a comedy film. This is a thriller. This is suspense.
It's an angry movie.
It's an angry movie, and from the opening scene in the suburb, the Andre walking through the suburb was chilling. It was so frightening.
And that's why I think a lot of people, that opening scene, I mean, from that moment, I mean, that movie just, it gets you. it grabs you. Because, I mean, again, I can only speak for myself. Just as a black man, I know that feeling. Like, being in a neighborhood and not knowing how you're going to be perceived, not knowing what people may think of you or how they may resist against you. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying feeling, and he's able to capture that from that opening scene. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
I think that's the strength of this film, is it being a horror film, is that as an audience member, whether you want to admit it or not, you know that the monster in the film is real. You know that it's potentially in the theater with you. You know that you can potentially meet it in the lobby, in the parking lot, when you go home, go to work tomorrow. It's not like Aliens, you know. You're not going to run into a xenomorph on Earth here ever. It's real, and it's a real thing. And I think that that's what puts the audience, or puts me at unease for the runtime of that film, is that you know that in some way, shape, or form, the thing that is haunting this person in this movie is a very real thing. And 9 times out of 10, or for a lot of people like you and myself, Brian, I've seen that monster. And so, I don't know, I think that's the power of this movie being a horror film.
Were you surprised at the end of the film that Chris survives?
With Key and Peele's history, I was, yes. We talked about it before, Brad. Like, and Lisa, you mentioned Key and Peele's their sketches. If you watch enough of their sketches, you know that, as in the Hype Man sketch, it's very funny for the first, second, and third act of the sketch, but then at the end, it takes a dark turn a lot of the times, and that was one of the particular episodes. But a lot of their episodes take a really dark turn, and so me going in a fan of Key and Peele, knowing that those dark turns were more likely Jordan Peele's idea and his sensibilities, and then expecting that going into this film, I was just like, man, he's having a bad go at it already. I can't even imagine what's going to happen to him at the end.
So at the end, when he has survived the coagula, the cult of the coagula, and he's contemplating strangling Allison Williams, and she gets that smile on her face, and then he lets go, and then police lights come on, and when those police lights came on, I thought of Key and Peele sketches. I was like, oh shit,
it's the blueberry pie.
I mean, because the real horror of this film is racism, and that fucking white cop is going to shoot this guy.
Oh my god! But when you see the airport sign on the side, the relief, you're just like, yes, Rodney!
So, like, I have, like, 2 feelings about that. As a fan of Chris, as a character, I am so relieved. And as a fan of Rodney, the character, I am so relieved that, TSA comes to the motherfucking rescue. But I also kind of feel like the original ending, or the truer ending, is a darker one.
You think so?
I do. I think that keeps in tone with the anger at the heart of Get Out. Well, and I'm surprised that it doesn't.
But that it gives us relief. The whole subplot of Rodney, his entire thing is about being the hero and the detective.
I agree, and I think that kind of flies in the face of the commentary of this film.
Well, and Jordan Peele has also said this. Like, you know, part of the standpoint that he's coming from in making this film is, you know, the film that he, as a black audience, would like to see. Rodney represents, and Jordan Peele says this, how a black audience is known for, you know, we're in the theaters, we're talking to the screen, no, don't do that, don't say that. Well, Rodney is the embodiment of the black audience. He says those things in the film. He says the things that a black audience would say when we're watching a film. And so, at the end of this film, with that in mind, with Jordan Peele having the black audience in mind, Jordan Peele also understands that the black audience, we want to see the black guy live to the end of a horror film.
That's the end of Sweetback's Badass Song, right? Rather than people's gets off.
Right. And so I think part of it is that. I think part of it is that. Now, whether or not there is a sinister ending, again, with Jordan Peele being as twisted as he is, excuse me, I wouldn't be surprised.
What about the guy? What was the sketch with the guy who kept ordering pizzas by himself? That one was also sad.
Oh, I don't know
Lisa,
if I saw that one.
He has about 95% of their sketches are sad. They take a dark turn at the end.
So, like, as an audience member, I left Get Out super satisfied and thrilled.
Exhilarated.
Exhilarated. And, you know, like, weirdly relieved.
Yeah.
You know, that Chris survives. Chris and Rodney drive off.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, because you and I saw this, Brett, after we just watched I Am Not Your Negro, which you're going to talk about later on. And that documentary ends on, as horrifying as the contents and the subject matter of that documentary, it ends on a very powerful and hopeful statement. And I think that that's important if you're going to inspire hope. And I think that that's kind of what Get Out is able to do with its ending, as opposed to a more nihilistic one where something, dastardly befalls Chris and he doesn't make it out alive. Because granted, there is a reality to that, but there is also should be a reality of hope. And so I think that that's what Get Out manages to do.
James Baldwin also uses the word monster repeatedly and specifically when referring to white people who are subscribing to racist ideals or are keeping themselves ignorant to the state of race in our country. He uses the word monster again and again and again. And this film is the sci-fi embodiment of what James Baldwin was talking about. By subscribing either by inactivity or hate in your heart or ignorance to race culture in America, now you are part of this monster. You are a monster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that cannot be brushed aside.
Yeah. So strong debut. Looking forward to what he does next. He said he has a couple of more scripts that he wants to kind of that might be a part of this universe. So I'm excited to see what Jordan Peele does next.
I hope he keeps the theme of the social thriller.
That's what he said.
I love that.
That's what he said. He has about 4 more scripts that he wrote that are social thrillers that live apart in the same universe. So it's exciting.
We've just gotten a really great run of horror films with a lot on their mind lately. And we've said this a lot on this podcast, but it's really exciting to go to the movies right now for scary pictures.
Yeah.
And for me and Brian, who are not into scary pictures, we're putting on our big boy pants and we're going to the theater so that we can be a part of it.
But, like, you loved Get Out.
I did. I love social commentary. I love that discussion. I think that genre film is critical in these kinds of discussions to take us out of ourselves and out of our everyday life to get a new perspective. But at the same time, I don't want to be grossed out. But this is not a gross, for my fellow emetophobes, there's nothing gross or yucky. There's some blood and stuff. There's there's a surgery scene that I think that people who have sensitivities to that kind of thing.
There's a strong use of antlers.
Strong use of antlers.
Wow.
But, so, I mean, if you have sensitivity to, like, surgery or anything like that, maybe bring your loved one and hold a hand. But emetophobes, we're safe.
Yeah.
All right. Lisa, what do you got for your Weekend Dork?
Well, my Weekend Dork has been wonderful.
Yep.
I've been able to see a lot of great films. And let me pull up my letterbox since I've been keeping up with my letterbox, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm updating that today.
Okay, you better. So Brad and I have restarted our MCU rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
I think I mentioned that last week. So this week we've watched The Incredible Hulk. We also watched Imperial Dreams, the John Boyega.
Oh, okay.
It's boring.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Damn, really?
It's really, it's a slog. I still love you, Boyega.
It's not good.
And we've already touched on briefly, we've talked about Get Out and touched briefly on I Am Not Your Negro. But this past Wednesday had our Lost Weekend VII announcement.
Yep.
And so I thought I would talk about that,
Yes.
drum that up a little bit. So Lost Weekend is coming up. It is the weekend of March 16th through 19th. Starts on a Thursday, ends on a Sunday. We're going to watch 23 films this year. I'm so excited. And Andy Geierson, the director, what is he
Programmer.
called? The programmer at Alamo Drafthouse, Winchester, has gathered a slate of films from all over the world. And prior to, or in celebration of tickets going on sale, he always does an announcement where we sit and we watch all of the trailers and we get excited for what we're going to partake in that weekend. So Brad and I went a little bit early because Brad, as a Golden Crown holder,
Golden Ticket member.
Golden Ticket member.
Because I had seen all the previous films from the last Lost Weekend.
Right.
Brian had too, right?
Yes, I did.
And I just kind of snuck in behind him. We had access to a preview taste of the special menu, which was very exciting. They have a new chef at the Alamo Winchester, Stephanie Penwell, and she's put together a really great menu for the special menu for the weekend.
It looked really good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It started with, they didn't want to tell us the films because this technically happened before the announcement, so I'm not quite sure which item goes with which film.
Yeah.
But she did accidentally slip that the ramen was for, they're doing a showing of the 1985 Japanese gangster / chef film Tampopo. So the ramen was in like a shoyu broth, but I warn you, like, it was delicious, like umami out the wazoo, but it is salty. Like, it is really salty.
It's like drinking a whole bottle of soy sauce.
Yeah. It's really salty. I honestly, it felt like my eyeballs were gonna shrivel up.
Oh.
But I famously, Brad will tell you, I famously do not hydrate sufficiently. So you might want to pre-game some water for the ramen. But it's really, really delicious. Also, there was a fried chicken and mashed potatoes on toast. There's a specialty pizza, of course, as well as a specialty hot dog, which had barbecue sauce and I think jalapenos. And there are 2 types of donuts. One with both fried in-house, with one had like a crispy sugar on the outside, and they served it with 3 types of ice cream. It was just really, really good. It's definitely some sit-in food. Like, you're going to eat it, and then you're going to sit, because you're not going to be able to move afterwards. It is really delicious.
They served it to us in, tiny tasting sample sizes. However, when you eat fried chicken, mashed potatoes, pizza slice, hot dog chunk, ramen bowl, salad, 2 donuts.
Oh, yeah, there was a Cobb salad.
a milkshake.
Yeah, the milkshake. The specialty milkshake this year is a vanilla milkshake with peanut butter, strawberries, and bananas.
So you put all those sample sizes into Brad's belly, and the concoction that results is a real horror show.
So I would pace out the specialty menu orders unless you want to roll out of Lost Weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's rich, but it's delicious. Wow. And so, I'm all about the food. Okay, I'm not going to lie. So after the tasting, we got to see all of the trailers for all of the films. And I know that we're going to do our pre-Lost Weekend blow by blow and go through all of the films that we're looking forward to. But I just wanted to do a couple highlights. So we're going to have 14 advanced screenings this year, which means...
That's a record.
Yeah, that's over half of the films. Are going to be advanced screenings. So that's really awesome. We even have 1 secret screening this year. We don't know what it's going to be. The clues that we have is that it is an AFI Fest nominee, and it's got a female director. I've been trying to Google around and see what it might be, but maybe I don't want to spoil it for myself. There's also a ton of really intriguing and quirky, fun documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm really excited about.
A lot of foreign cinema this year.
A ton. We're going to be doing a lot of reading. We're going to be doing a lot of reading.
Which is great.
It is great.
Yes.
So some of the films, just from the trailers, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Colossal.
Yep.
So technically it's on Thursday, so I'd have to call out of work. I think I feel the flu coming on. A 24-hour bug on Thursday, the 16th. Also, Commune looks really interesting. It looks like a social
from the
commentary.
director of The Hunt, which is an incredibly depressing film.
I mean, it would not be an Andy Geierson menu if we don't leave completely emotionally conflicted and confused. Just a brew of hormones.
Yeah.
Some of the documentaries I'm looking forward to. Ketty, of course, the one about all of the cats. Contemporary Color, which is a documentary about Color Guard, which is the flag team for marching band. I did this when I was in high school. I did it 2 seasons. I did 2 seasons of Fall Guard. The award that I got after my second season was Most Improved.
Yay! See?
I was so garbage. I was like when all of the flags were going right, I was going left. Like that's how I did. I actually broke my finger twice doing Color Guard. It's not for the faint of fingers. What else? Swagger.
Oh yeah, that looked like a really good documentary.
And then it's going to be our capper on Sunday is going to be Girl with All the Gifts.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So Brad and I are particularly excited because we've only seen one of the 24 films.
I know.
We have already seen Tony Erdmann.
Yeah.
We saw that in our Oscar preparation since it was nominated for Best Foreign Film. But I know that you, as a Fantastic Fest goer, you've got a few more crossovers.
5. I've seen 5 of the films that we've seen that are going to be shown this year.
Yeah.
At this one.
But
Humble brag.
But still, like 19 films that you otherwise may not be able to get to see.
And even those 5 are ones that I can't wait to revisit. So it's still a win. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of these films.
So yeah, I'm so excited. I just love the excuse to like turn off the outside world and turn on my film dork heart and just soak up some art.
Strap on a pair of Depends and let's get going.
Whoa!
Let's do this lady astronaut style.
All right.
There was one trailer that was not VF. Which
for Young Offenders,
which is the second to last film.
Right before A Girl with All the Gifts.
Yeah, so I didn't get to see the trailer for Girl with All the Gifts.
Which is good.
Which is, I mean, I'm excited at like Young Offenders. I'm not sure. It's an Irish film.
It's funny,
and it's about 2 youths. Young Offenders is a silent film, is an Irish film about youths, and so I should have just closed my eyes anyway because they seemed like rascals. Who are up to no good.
It's funny though. It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It is.
Well, maybe if you could tell me when exactly I need to close my eyes, because I'm going to be unsettled.
I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember.
So you'll sit next to Darren.
Sit next to Darren for that one. He can hold my hand. So if you're interested in going to Lost Weekend VII, I'm sorry, it's sold out. But do not let that turn you away because standby tickets will be available at the door, and you can get into individual films. Like I said, a lot of these are advanced screenings. The entire schedule is available on the Alamo Winchester website. So,
also our Facebook page.
Also our Facebook page.
Modcast and Twitter feed.
And here's the thing. From my experience, every Lost Weekend that I've been to, for every screening that I've been in, there's always been a bunch of open seats. So if you see a film on the schedule that you would like to see and you're going to be in that area, still come up there. It's 99% I'm positive you can get into that screening.
If you can't,
don't tell Andy that Darren said that though.
Oh, whoops.
Just wait until Darren steps out of the theater and jump him.
Yeah.
That's right. And even if you can't make Lost Weekend 7, there is always a ton of really amazing and fun stuff going on at the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester. Of course, there's Psycho Cinema, which we've been to in the past, Lost Weekend 8. If you just follow their Film Club 3.0 Facebook page. Make sure that you like that so you can stay abreast of all of the Alamo Winchester happenings, especially because something really special is coming up in May.
Say what?
Oh, yeah, May at the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester. Film Club 3.0 is going to be an It Mod themed month. Each of us dorks has picked a film that is near and dear to our hearts and we want to see on the big screen and share. You might be able to guess what my film is. So make sure that you get your tickets. We would love to see a bunch of dorks in those seats wearing our sweet merch from, what's our merch page?
On Zazzle. Yeah.
Zazzle.
Zazzle.com/itmodcast.
It looks fabulous. Julie Bolger was wearing a fuck ton of it, and we were super flattered.
It was dope.
It was so cool. So make sure that you get your tickets at the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester website, which I should have looked up, but you can Google it. You're smart.
Yes.
And handsome, I'm sure.
All right. What else you got, Lisa? That's it?
That's it. I want to hear Brad's weekend.
Brad.
Well, continuing off of Lisa's, the way the Lost Weekend announcements always go is he caps it with a film screening, and this year it was the Oscar-nominated documentary directed by Raoul Peck, I Am Not Your Negro. It is a James Baldwin documentary, and it's a pretty unique experience because it's all from Baldwin's point of view. He wrote 30 pages about his thoughts towards Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers, and never completed that long essay, that potential novel. And Raoul Peck got those 30 pages, and in collaboration with Sam Jackson, the actor, had him narrate the film using that outline. It is all archival footage, very artistically stitched together. This is not a Talking Heads styled documentary, and as such, it really stands apart from a lot of other films circling this same topic. I think for me, going into it, I had read Go Tell It on the Mountain sometime in high school. The story did not really stick with me. My familiarity with Baldwin as an intellectual was pretty limited going into the film. But coming out of it, the guy is just a tremendous brain and an incredibly creative person, tackling the civil rights era and the injustices of it, but how everything he says in this documentary is 100% applicable today. And it was interesting when we were watching the film. It was sponsored by the NAACP, and I would say the audience was a third African American, and the rest was white. And there was a moment in the movie where it was archival footage of Bobby Kennedy, and he was talking about how, look, in 30 to 40 years, there will be an African American president. And then cut to archival footage of James Baldwin at a lecture somewhere responding to Bobby Kennedy and just saying, oh, F that, demand the impossible now. Why do we have to wait 30 to 40 years? And why is the idea of waiting 30 to 40 years like a pat on the back to white society? Like, don't worry, we're progressing. And then the film cuts to Michelle and Barack Obama as a button to this outrage. And, for me, when I saw Michelle and Barack Obama, it was like being punched in the solar plexus. But then this weird thing happened where there was this one lone clap at the sight of Michelle and Barack Obama, and then there was the strangest ripple effect of applause I've ever experienced in a movie, where people took up that clap and then realized that this was maybe not a clapping moment, and then the clap went away. And it was just this really absurd moment where either people were not listening to what Baldwin was saying, or it was just indicative of how white society still does not understand what is going on in this country.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly painful to experience. And, Baldwin's other thesis, or at least Raoul Peck's construction of Baldwin's thesis of how... I'm going to take a side note here, but I was talking to Billy Dass, who sometimes comes on the show and does the Itmod Chatcast with us. I was talking to him last night, and he asked me, well, who was that documentary for? What's the intended audience? And, my response to that was, it's not really a preaching to the choir movie. Although if you are in that choir, you're going to agree with a lot of what Baldwin is talking about. But for me, in that particular audience, when Baldwin discusses the Sears catalog pages and what Lisa was talking about just a few minutes ago, when we are also concerned with keeping oneself and their family safe. With Lisa, I have a job. I need to make sure that I have health insurance so Lisa and myself can go see a doctor, can go to the dentist, can get our eyes checked. I need to make sure that I have the right Blu-ray player and the right 4K television. As long as I'm supplying myself with the means and the accoutrements that I desire, I can keep on going with my happy existence. But in pursuing the happy existence of that Sears catalog, of filling out your house and your own personal circle with what you think you need, you are ignoring a real plague in this country. And the thesis statement of I Am Not Your Negro is, we will not progress unless we witness and acknowledge the real pain that has lasted in our community since its birth. We are in a country that's born on the backs of others, born on the backs of oppression. And I think a lot of us know that, and we all nod and we go, yeah, sure. Oh boy, we really fucked over those Indians. But we also say there aren't white and colored water fountains anymore. And because there aren't white and colored water fountains, we've gotten beyond that. Yeah. And what Peck's film does is also uses archival footage from, Ferguson and Sandy Hook, and shows that all these horrible things, all this footage that we look at of the Watts riots or Selma, dogs attacking black people, that shit's still happening. And if we don't say that shit is still happening, then
it's going to keep happening.
It's going to keep happening. And I had just written an article for Film School Rejects about Ken Burns' documentary Unforgivable Blackness as a parallel to Ezra Edelman's O.J. Made in America. And, when I was watching O.J. Made in America, that is another documentary that shows that we have not learned anything since the 1990s, since L.A. and Rodney King. And it reminded me of the Jack Johnson story and how, that's the early 1900s. And there's another that it's the same story. We're telling the same story over and over and over again, and it's a cyclical thing. And how, and actually that's not even true. It's not even a cyclical thing. It's a perpetual wound in our country. And the important thing about I Am Not Your Negro, and I think it's an important film for a white audience to watch and to think about and to have a conversation about, and to acknowledge that as we sit in our houses and watch our favorite TV shows and hug our loved ones and put our kids to sleep at night, that in just taking care of ourselves, we're doing nothing. And we're contributing to what's wrong in this country. So, Lisa and I have been talking a lot about what we can do to break out of just enjoying our lives. And we have not come up with any answers, but we are working on it. And I think the conversation is step one, but I also think that conversation is something that our country's been having for a long, long, long time, and we need to do something beyond just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like now more than ever, I feel like a lot of people are in that boat where they feel like I need to do more. I need to feel like I need to do something instead of just kind of just, like recoiling back into like my own existence and just thinking that, as long as I'm good and, take care of myself, take care of my family, and that's the only thing that matters. But at the end of the day, like, there's other people out here suffering, and everybody can do something to improve the betterment of our country. I don't know, especially in the political climate that we live in now. I think there's a call to action for a lot of people to do stuff, and I think that's important. So,
and to answer Billy's question, I think that the intended audience for this film is everybody. It's not a movie or a documentary to show and just educate white people on the black experience. It's a film also for black people to see. It's all a film for people of all races to see, because because racism isn't just between black and white. I've experienced racism from the Japanese. That's why my mother left my father and I, because she married a black man. So racism has affected my life tremendously in that regard. And it wasn't from a white person standpoint. It was Japanese. Then growing up with my black family, predominantly black, in school and being raised in Mississippi, then I would experience racism from, white people as well. But my point is, like, it's not just for a black audience. The film is not just for a white audience. This film is for everyone. I think the intended audience is for everyone because, again, the problem isn't just in Selma. The problem isn't in just Chicago or Washington or wherever. It's worldwide. It affects everyone all over the world. So I think everyone could take something very important from it. And I think that that's what James Baldwin was saying. I mean, he was saying that, his life was more than just where he grew up here. He left, he went overseas, and he put himself in a different environment, and that shaped who he became. But then he came back to take, all of his experiences there, and he put it to good use here in his observations and feeling like, I've been away, I've been doing my own thing, like you said, Brad, but I can't stand here on the fringes and watch this experience go down. I have to submerge myself into it and be a part of it. And when he did that, and he speaks and he puts this information out, he's putting it out for everybody to hear, because everybody needs to hear it. And so I think the audience for this film is the same audience that James Baldwin was trying to reach when he was writing and he was speaking, because it's synonymous with his writing and his teachings and what he was trying to work towards. This film destroyed me. I was not ready for that experience at the Alamo that night.
It's a weird way, we're coming off of the thrill and excitement of, the future of Lost Weekend VII.
Yeah.
And then to hit that dose of reality.
Yeah, at least twice I was just destroyed in that movie. But again, I think it's something that, as hard as it is to see, it's something that needs to be seen. And like James Baldwin said, even as hard as it might be to admit this problem, it has to be done. He says that quote, and I'm paraphrasing. Not everything that's faced can be, changed, but you can't change anything until you face it. And so that, that's everything. That's everything. So yeah, that was a really good film.
And you mentioned earlier in our Get Out segment that it ended on a positive note, and I would say kind of. It ends with Baldwin saying that he is an optimist because he is alive, and in being alive, he's forced to be optimistic.
I think it's a positive note because it's a black man who has seen Martin, Malcolm, Medgar all die, and yet he can stand in the face of that. He's seen the racism. He grew up in a time where it was not uncommon to see people hanging from trees because they were black. He's been in that. He's lived through that. And yet he's still standing upright as an educated black man proclaiming hope. That's positive to me because I don't know that part of me being broken down watching that is knowing that I've had family who had close calls and experiences with these images that I'm seeing, and to hear them talk about it and to see how that affected them. I don't know that I could be that strong having that be so prominently on my back day in and day out as a black man. I'm not even 100% black. I'm only half black, and I've experienced racism, and I've only experienced it in little spots here and there. And I know what that does to me. But to have that existence where every day when you wake up to the time you wake up to the point when you go to sleep, you don't know if you're going to make it just because someone may see you in a different part of town or whatever and just decide to hang you. To have that existence be day in and day out, but yet to be able to stand up and articulate hope. Like, I think for me, that's positive. That's something that everyone needs to see. That's something all black people need to see, especially today, who rightfully so feel like there's just no hope. Like, what hope do we have? Look at what's going on with the police. Look what's going on in our society. Look at what we're doing to each other. But yet you see that this man who's going through the things that he's going through can say, in spite of all that, we have to still be strong and be better and work for change and progress. I think that's a positive. That's a positive.
I also think another positive would be the fact that this documentary is from one perspective. It is James Baldwin's story, and the way to acknowledge pain and desire to help people is through empathy. And that is a power that film has, that story has. And so making this one man's perspective, I think, adds to that empathy element and makes it even more real. And it's an extremely intimate portrait because it is segments from that book he was working on, and he's having reminiscences about times he's with Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and Medgar Evers. But also you hear private letters. The book proposal that he was writing was a private book proposal. So you get to hear how he presented his story publicly. You get to hear how he presents his story privately. You get to see him on the Dick Cavett show speaking to primarily white audience. You get to see him at other kinds of meetings and rallies where he's talking to primarily black audiences, and you can hear how he expresses himself in all different venues, and so you get this complete portrait of this man's perspective on how we need to change as a culture and how that change has to start in the heart of every single American.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got? Did you see it? Have you seen it yet?
I'm actually going to see it this week. I think it's playing up the street in Arundel Mills. So I'm actually going this week. I was maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday. But, yeah. Looking forward to it. Got to prepare myself.
Yeah.
I was going to maybe double feature that with the 13th.
Oh my God.
On Netflix.
Not to take anything away from the 13th, I think it's an incredibly important watch. But as Lisa said, what separates I Am Not Your Negro from that movie is that point of view. And I think in some ways maybe even might alienate some audience members because it's just so dense with one man's story. And it's a film that will certainly require many watches for me because you reach this level of exhaustion from oration because he is just he is so rich in content and it really makes you pine for that era. We now live in 2-minute YouTube clips where we get our information, and here is a man who was given a platform to talk long form essay. That's just unheard of. I mean, really, podcasts are the only form of that right now, maybe outside of C-SPAN too, and it really makes you long for that era when somebody like James Baldwin could be brought on to the Dick Cavett show to talk to his audience.
Is that all you got for your weekend, Dork?
That is it.
All right. So when Brad and I we went to see Get Out, we did a double feature of Collide with Get Out, and yeah. So it's my understanding that Collide was filmed several years ago. It was done, edited, put in the can, and it just sat. I don't know if it was because of rights issues or whatever, or if it was because the studios weren't confident in the film. But whatever the case may be, it ended up getting dumped in February of 2017. Now, I think I want to say Collide was shortly after Nicholas Hoult did Fury Road.
It was 2014, I think, was the production.
It was before. I know it was before Felicity did Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, it's way before. Yeah, because so anyway, this film is basically about Nicholas Hoult. He's this American kid over in Germany, and he's escaping his life. He's basically your man from Too Fast, Too Furious. No, Tokyo Drift. Right. He's a troubled youth that that goes overseas to escape from his troubled past or whatever. And
Lucas Black.
He's over there selling drugs or whatever. And he meets Felicity Jones's character, and she's a bartender at this rave or whatever. And she tells him, I'm not into guys who are into your lifestyle. If you ever make a change, then call me. So that night he decides, I want to make a change because I want to call this girl. And then they fall in love, and he gets pulled back into that life when it's revealed that she has some medical problems that are going to require a $200,000 treatment. So, in order to make some quick cash, he falls in with some bad people, ends up stealing a car, stealing some property, some money, or some drugs. There was money from Anthony Hopkins, and then chase ensues to get that back because Anthony Hopkins kidnaps Felicity Jones as ransom. So basically, it's your typical setup and action movie. But I guess the thing going for Collide, if there's anything going for it, is that part of the problem of the movie for me is kind of the charm of it also. So I can tell that they were unsure of what directions they want to go in with this film at some point, at least tonally. It feels like a film that has gone through like several edits. But because it's weird in that way, it kind of works because you have Sir Ben Kingsley playing like a drug dealing Trevor Slattery from Iron Man 3. But like he's staying in character, like he's committing to the character. He doesn't break character. And he's just so over the top. And even Anthony Hopkins is chewing scenery. And I don't know, it's goofy, it's dumb, but like I guess it kind of works. And then you have like these weird musical cues that really is supposed to drive home the sentiment of their relationship. And here's the thing. Nicholas Hoult, who, if you've listened to the podcast, you would know that because he's in Fury Road, I'm obviously a fan. But both he and Felicity Jones, they're the setup is goofy. I'm supposed to buy them falling in love really quick, because that happens really quick in the film. I mean, they do a time lapse thing where like some time is obviously passed, but it's so, the way that it's edited, it feels so rushed in the film. It's still hard. I still don't buy it in my right mind. But because Nicholas Hoult is so like charming, he's so Nicholas Hoult. Maybe I'm just biased because he's nuts. Like I was okay. Like I didn't fall. I wasn't bored with the film. I was along for the ride with the film.
Anytime you got bored with the movie, Ben Kingsley or Anthony Hopkins would pop up to just go apeshit.
Oh my god, yeah. And here's the thing. So the movie's called Collide. In the trailer, there's a bunch of like chase sequences and cars and stuff like that. As bad as the movie as a whole is, as far as maybe narratively or whatever, I got to be honest. The action sequences involving the cars and the chases, those are pretty good. Those are pretty good. And they're doing a lot of stuff with like really, I don't want to say low budget, but I'm pretty sure they had like not even GoPro cameras, because the image quality wasn't bad. But they were doing some things with setup and how they would place the camera on the car to shoot the action that I haven't seen in a long, I don't want to say in a long time, but I haven't seen, period. Like, it's not your typical, camera on the bumper of a car or a chase cam car or whatever following the actor or whatever. It's not that. I mean, there was like some Matrix. Which one was the highway? Was that Revolution?
Reloaded.
There was some Matrix Reloaded level stuff on a highway involving like sedans. It was weird. They were driving like what do you call those station wagons? Yeah, Nicholas Hoult was in the station wagon. One bad guy had a Volvo station wagon. Why? I don't know. But the way that it was shot was like really, really impressive. But outside of that, it was just this weird like music. Like there was Rory's God's Whisper song, which is in the closing moments of American Honey. Like they were using that song like at least 3 different times in the movie to like drive home the romance between Nicholas Hoult and Felicity Jones. But the one time when it's used, when I figured out what the song was from, because it was killing me, I couldn't remember where I heard that song. But anyway, there's a shot, I think it's in the trailer, where the car is tumbling and the camera's inside and it's in slow motion and he's in the driver's seat, she's in the passenger seat, and they're looking at each other as the car is being destroyed as it's flipping. With that song, like that was pretty cool, because that
song makes every scene better.
It does. So yeah, but I'm not saying that it makes the movie better. Mm-hmm. But if you got like an afternoon to kill and you want to double feature something because you're waiting for another movie to start, you can do worse than Collide.
I think that was a great double feature.
I had fun with it.
I agree. Not a good movie.
Right.
Very weird. Probably terrible film. But when Ben Kingsley is like going through the stable and he passes a radio that's playing one of his favorite songs and he goes, "Oh, that's my favorite song." And then suddenly the entire film is taken up with that song.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was pretty brilliant.
Ben Kingsley is nuts in this movie. That line he's talking about Burt Reynolds said he looked like a mannequin.
He is so mean to Burt Reynolds in this film. Unnecessary Ben Kingsley.
Oh man, he's committed. I'm telling you, he didn't break character. So I don't know, but yeah. So Collide, go see it if you want.
Are you ever going to watch it again?
Probably not.
I'm never going to think about it again.
Right. So I'm just documenting my thoughts on it right now on this podcast, just in case. But yeah, that was my weekend dork. Other than that, caught up with the Flash, Mitsoplik. They don't pronounce his name like that on the show, which is weird. So I don't know if they're like being modern and trying to update it, whatever. But
how do they pronounce it on the show?
They say it like it's a French name or a German name or something. Like they pronounce it like fancy. It's not Mitzoplik. It's not
Mixoplex.
Nah, they say it's weird. It sounds like they're adding letters. I have to go back and watch it. But anyway, that was a really cute episode with him on there. But the Flash, when they go to Gorilla City with Grodd, and there's this other gorilla that Grodd fights, is voiced by Keith David. That was dope. But it's cool because Draco Malfoy, he's really like becoming a charming character now, and I think he's falling for Caitlin Snow. But Jesse Quick came back. Wally West and Jesse are their item now, so it's like two speedsters holding down Central City while the Flash goes to the other Earth 2 to fight Grodd and get Wells back. But they're building towards a huge invasion. Grodd's going to come back because he has this huge gorilla army now. So that's a little further down the line. So that was hinted at. So I'll check that out. And I finally finished Voltron Season 2, which was dope. You know what? Here's the thing. Legendary Defender. I said it was a pretty cool show before. I finally got through the whole second season, and it ends on a really cool, not even a cliffhanger, but kind of a cliffhanger. If you're a fan of the original series, that last line of dialogue from the witch Hagar was pretty exciting. But here's the thing. The production values of that show are outstanding. The animation is really good. They toned down. There's some humor in it, but the first season was like serious line humor, serious line humor, serious line humor. It's like they were afraid to commit to like one specific tone in a scene, not even for the show. But in this one, they found a nice balance, and just the direction the show took, the action, the characters, all of it, like it's really good. So I'm excited for season 3. Hopefully that gets renewed. I think it already did. I now need a good, high quality toy of Voltron, like a nice not sideshow because they're going to want like $1,000 from it, but I mean like a nice, good like NECA version of Voltron, the Legendary Defender version. So yeah, that's going to do it for my Weekend Dork. What do we got coming up?
Logan.
Oh yeah. Oh, Kong. We're going to see Kong tomorrow. No, day after tomorrow.
Wednesday. We have
Wednesday.
A sneak screening.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then Logan on Thursday. So I'm excited for that. I'm scared to be excited, but I'm going to allow myself to be excited. Have no expectations, actually. What else? No, what do we have for the podcast coming up?
May is It Modcast month at Alamo Winchester.
That's right. So stay tuned for that. Come out and support us, as Lisa mentioned earlier. Are we going to be recording for that? Like when we go there, are we going to record an episode?
Oh, yeah.
I think we should definitely record our intros.
Okay.
And put that on the podcast show.
We should do episodes about them.
All right. So yeah, there you have it. You have that to look forward to. All right, Brian, tell the people where they can find you.
You guys can find me on, at the Turtle Dork 1, Brian William Young on all social medias. And go ahead and check out the YouTube page. I'm putting up some videos on there. I'm actually about to put up another editorial. I have my review for Get Out. So doing reviews, reactions. So, if you guys have phones, computers, go to YouTube and go to It Modcast and check out some of the content there.
Lisa.
You can find me at Sidewalk Siren at Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram, where you can see pictures of my cupcakes that I made for the Oscar party tonight. They're pineapple cupcakes with a Halpia center. That's a coconut cream center. Coconut buttercream with a toasted coconut topping. Themed for Moana. Did I say that? Anyway, they're going to be super delicious. I'm so excited.
I'll let you all know how they tasted.
Yay!
Fuck them up. Brad, you got your Blu-ray set of Bruce Lee films in, huh?
I sure do.
Yes, sir. What does that mean?
That means I will be watching The Big Boss really shortly.
Yes.
And then we are going to do a special mini episodes devoted to The Way of the Dragon.
All right, and where can people find you in the interim?
You can find me at MouthDork on all social medias.
Yep, and I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, at the Disco Dork, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and Letterboxd. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. We're about to go enjoy and partake in some Academy Award festivities. I'm just going for the cupcakes. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. We will be back to our regularly scheduled programming and content very shortly, so fear not. Thank you all for listening, and until next time.